Bowser's all ready to hit the road. Ready to get going, Bowser? You excited? Hello, welcome to God's Junk Drawer. I'm Cody, and it's time to install some solar. Here we are on the roof of the Subaru Outback. I made a template of the solar panel to get all my options of where to put the bolts. We're going to be attaching this with magnets with 1/4-inch bolts. Basically the same thing used to attach sirens to police vehicles or construction vehicles. So each of these holds 30 pounds, and we're going to be using these Z brackets. So this part is attached to the solar panel before we do any of our mounting, and then each one will have two 30-pound magnets on it. So essentially each corner will have 60, 120, so 240 pounds of pressure holding this down. It should be more than sufficient, and will be held on the freeway, all that good stuff. I've marked my wiring here too. This is where the positive and negative are on the solar panel. So I'm going to run this straight back and then through the trunk. Mine's almost a square. It's 30 by 31 inches. So rather than doing anything with an L or whatever, so just when I mount the panel, I'll just pay attention to that. That'll keep the wiring cleaner and to the side of everything that I want it on. Anything else up here? Nope, yeah, like I said, these are all my hole options. I put down some painter's tape for kind of when I do my brackets and stuff. That way this can stay, you can take it up. Okay, let's put some magnets on. So before I attach these to the panel with kind of one of these, I'm just going to go around and soft place these magnets. So I have this roughly where I want it. Individually you can tweak these magnets one at a time, doop doop doop, but once you have that whole panel down, you're not going to be able to lift this very easily. You will have to try very hard. So yep, just kind of put these soft down and tweak them, and then when I put the actual panel on, basically, you know, just go around edge to edge and tweak it till it goes down flat. So I will start with the two corners and then check the solar panel at that point. Good enough. I will take this off and get the rest of the Z brackets on and then fully mount. I'm kind of cupping my hand underneath too, so that magnet doesn't stick right away and give me a headache. And then now that I have both, I can kind of let it plop into place. One other thing I'm noting with these corners is that with the curvature of the hood, there's very, very slight amount of gap underneath the front and back magnets from that curve. You could just ignore it, it wouldn't do anything, but I'm going to go ahead and toss one washer underneath each of these, the very, very front and back corners. So depending on how much your roof curves, I'd compensate it just basically when you push down in the middle, it doesn't bow at all. So yep, just one washer that feels flat. Again, it's probably not going to make a difference, but the safer the safer. Just tossing the last of the washers on the top, and then we'll get nuts and we're mounted. I have a blanket over the solar for right now while I'm doing the wiring. You don't want any current flowing through while you're doing the wiring of your solar panel. For right now, I'm just going to temporarily wire everything in, but have it still pretty clean. So I've got it zip tied here. This is going through the chunk, and this will be pretty close to how I actually wire. I'm using the existing clips that are in the Outback. There's one here and one here, and then I'm just going underneath the seat fold hinge. So that is that. And my wires are coming up to meet my charger and everything, so I'll get this wired here. There's a lot of extra room, so this shuts just fine. Yeah, nice tight there. So this is where the existing wires kind of are. They meet up inside the panel, but I'm not going to use that because I don't really want to take the whole top apart. I'm going to go down and keep this, because the other option is to use this right here, which is why I have the extra room for my cables, but I don't want to take the entire roof apart, so I'm going to stick with this. So I'm just going to wire it. Here it is, 3 in the afternoon. The solar panel is in full sun. It's a pretty clear sky, so I'd say optimal conditions for the panel. So here's our solar, and with my negative, I am going to the bolt in the door, and that's giving me a 19. It's like pretty consistent 19 there. This has been working well for me all weekend, working on my tiny home. So I've been able to recharge my drill, and I have a portable fan. Recharge that each night, and that would last me the day, which that is a big difference for right now. Yeah, pretty consistent 19 reading. So this has been going well. I had the DC without the solar setup going for quite a while to make sure everything was going smoothly there. And now I'm relying mostly on the solar here. So it's working very well. You can see our solar there. And I'll go start the car, and then we'll run through the entire system from hood to tail. So any second now we should see that alternator light. Up, there's our solar. Maybe our solar is strong enough here. Let me put the car into drive here for 1 second and see if that does. Up there, right when I was about to move. So yep, now we switched over to our alternator, which apparently now is the stronger charge of the two. So it's getting 30 amps from the alternator right now. So it says, yep, that's the strong one. Let's dedicate all our resources there. So it's pretty smart mixing between solar and alternator as it needs. So yeah, it's been good. Let's go take a gander under the hood, as they say. And there we go, alternator off, so everything is going smoothly, and I'm actually just going to wait again till our solar clicks on. Look at that, solar, beautiful. This is very wonderful. Blessing break! We all start at zero in whatever our next venture in life is, whether that's cooking, learning how to golf, or starting a YouTube channel. The number of new subscribers after my last video brought so much joy to my heart. I know for you it's just clicking a button, but to me it really means a lot, and to know that my video connected with you in some way makes it worth doing this, so thank you, I really appreciate you. Underneath the hood, the starter battery, where everything begins. So here is our black wire and our white wire. White is our red. And I want to show one more thing with the ignition wire that I may not get a good shot of before. There's two sides, so you're going to want to test this side and see if you get current running while the vehicle is on, and you can test it directly in the plugs too, and then test the other side. So it's going to be one of the two. I'm not exactly sure how these starter relays work, but one of those two sides will pull a current. And then also just to note that you don't want to wrap it around like you might think with different types of wire. You actually want to have it in there so when you push the socket in, it bends on either side of the socket here. So I have the plate off already that covers this. So my wire's tucked nicely under here. And our shutoff, a 50 amp, and that's nice just to use for my shutoff. And then I go in through the hood and out through the door panel. So you can kind of see the cable in there. You can see that daylight coming through at least. And our cable runs down. Yep, our cable's right here. And then here is our firewall port. So I'm using the existing firewall port. And then coming through, and it comes out here, the inside of the firewall port, which is just a yellow circle on the inside. And then I'm staying inside my panel, running through my panel, and then shooting my wires out right where my driver's panel comes. Be careful with these, because the amount of times I took this on and off, I did break a clip right in the middle, so I'm not going to take this off ever again, hopefully. So there's my wires, and they're coming to the back. So that, this is still just our two wires from our alternator, our two wires from our starter battery. And then we come underneath the seat. So here is our starter battery, and then comes in to the positive of our starter battery. This one is the starter negative, comes up and goes directly to the battery. And then we got a bunch of stuff going on with the negative here. So we'll come back to this negative, but let's take, this is the ignition switch. So this is the thing I connected to the starter up front. And here is our alternator, starter battery. Here is our solar. We'll trace that solar back in just a moment. On this side with the plate on, this is just our battery connections essentially. So our black to the black, and our red with another 50 amp fuse to our red. And then the only other one you have connected to the positive is this big old giant 2-knot, I think. And then it's going to a 250 amp, which that's what ultimately goes to our 2000 watt inverter over here. Take a look at our negative terminal. So this is the starter battery. This is where we started, the first thing you're kind of doing. This is the negative to the negative in the charger. This is the negative for our solar. And this is the negative for our inverter, where we use all of our power. Finish looking at the system here. We've got the solar panel mounted up here with the 30-pound magnet, so 60, 120, 180, 240 pounds of weight that's holding this down, and this is not going anywhere. This has been on the freeway. It is not going anywhere. So I've opened and closed this lid a ton of times, and there is no wear and tear on this cable. I can see the babyest of a scratch, but I don't feel anything. It's still very smooth, so that is working wonderfully. And then I follow my cable down here. One thing I idiotically forgot at the beginning is to put a drip loop. So the first time I wired this, I was like, just went whoop, and then right in. And then the next day after it rained, I was like, there's a little dampness here. So yep, remember to put in a drip loop always too when you're coming in from your exterior, no matter how you do that. And then I am again just using the vehicle setup with the clips to keep it nice and clean. And then my solar is just coming right out here. So there we go. This here is a BT2. It's a proprietary accessory for Renogy products. I think this worked quite well directly with this DC-DC charger, but it has a RJ45 plug, which is your standard network cable back before Wi-Fi, when you had to directly hardwire plug-in, you might call it, RJ45. So that works well with this, but over here on this inverter, this one has an RJ11 plug, which that's your telephone plug. So that wouldn't work with this, and I was hoping and thinking that once I plugged this into the charger, that it could give me information on the full system. So a little bit disappointed that this didn't work as extensively as I wanted. And I tried a hub communicator too, but that had the exact same problem. All the plugs on it are RJ45, so it was kind of unusable. So accessory wise, a little disappointed, but otherwise the actual system and everything is performing to my liking. So this is the DC Home app on my phone, and it is right now reading that 17.7 as our solar charge. So I think there's a slight delay between that and the app reading, but it seems fairly accurate to me. So we went below, and then right back there, kind of 17.3. 16.8, there was our drop. Yep, so it seems to read accurate with just a slight delay. If I were to start over again, I think I would go ahead and get the 50 amp DC-DC charger just to give the system a little bit more power. And you could upgrade that solar panel to something stronger if you wanted. I think for me and my vehicle setup, it works well. But if you have like a van or something where you plan to use more solar, make sure you're checking your charge controller that it can handle the solar you're going to put into it. I have the full shopping list down in the details to make things easier for you. If you do mix and match components, thanks Bowser. If you do mix and match components, just make sure you read your tech spec sheets. Read your manuals, read your spec sheets. For my first experience with Renogy products, very happy with everything. Everything performed as it said, exactly as it would in the spec sheets. You would get your exact voltage out of your solar panel, and the amperage from the DC charging from the alternator. Everything did exactly as it said it would in the spec sheet. So happy with the hardware and the stuff that really matters. To me, all the accessories weren't worth it. I wouldn't have bought any of those. They do have a Renogy One monitoring type system, but in my opinion, that was just too much to spend on it. I'm sure it works wonderfully, but for me, I'm not going to use that even when I put it in my solar in my tiny home. I don't plan to do that. But yeah, I would suggest Renogy, and I will be using the Renogy solar panels, an upgraded version for my tiny home. So looking forward to that, and thank you for watching.